I would say I think it's important to have someone who has strong communication skills, right? So, especially for Indian weddings, like Durgi, you know this, I speak Hindi really well, and I speak that more than English at times. And I think you want someone that can interact with the family and you properly. I think having a strong communicator as a choreographer is important because they're the ones that are going to be giving you that activity, right? Like I said, these practices are actually an activity and the most memorable experience.
So you've decided you want to dance on your big wedding day, but maybe you've got two left feet. Not to worry, because in this episode of Wedding Checklist Now, I sit down with Akanksha, who is a professional Bollywood dancer and choreographer. While she's based out of Toronto, she teaches couples and families all over the world how to best prepare for their big wedding day when it comes to dancing. So again, if this is something you're considering, you're not going to want to miss this episode. By the way, if you and I, we've never met before, my name is Durgi Spade, aka Magic MC. That's because I'm a wedding magician and a wedding MC. But in this series, Wedding Checklist Now, we plan to bring to you tips, tricks, and checklists that you can use for your big wedding day. Again, if dancing is important to you, you're not going to want to miss this episode with Akanksha right after this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and I have the absolute pleasure to be your host this evening.
Hi Akanksha, how are you?
Good. How are you? Magic
Good.
Durgi Spade.
Magic Durgi Spade. I gotta ask, do I call you Aka Nach or AKA Nach? How do you guys say your name?
Akanksha, but it's AKA Nach. I get really annoyed when everyone's like Akka Nach. It's AKA Nach.
That's why I asked you. It's AKA Nach, and we'll make sure we put like your Instagram and all that good stuff on the screen. I gotta ask because of the millions of people watching this, there might be a few that don't know. Maybe they're not familiar with you or your work. Can you give us like a quick description of what you do?
Sure. Well, I worked in the corporate world and then I quit my job to pursue dancing full time. I moved to India to train for a year. Now I'm back in Toronto and I basically teach online now, virtual classes every week for Bolly Fitness and choreography. I teach kids because I love kids. And now that weddings are back, I've been doing a lot of wedding choreography clients because before I used to perform, and when I perform or a professional performs, everyone's like, oh, that's great. But then if a cousin performs who's 4-year-old doing nothing, everyone's like, oh my God. So I think you want to watch your family perform and that's more fun. So I teach them.
There's so much in there that you just said that I want to unpack, and I almost don't even know where to begin because there really is so much in there. Just to clarify, like what type of dancing do you specialize in?
So I teach Bollywood for my regular. It's Bollywood specific, and for the kids, that's really important because they start to pick up the language more. So Bollywood for the wedding choreography too, but these days I've been having a lot of requests on in between to change things up. English music, Spanish, and Afghani now. So because I'm a choreographer, I can make the moves if it's simplistic, but I do recommend someone if they want a specific like Latin type feel.
Wow, crazy. And so how does someone like you even get, like, take me back to the beginning. Like, how do you even get into something like this?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It took a lot of time. It wasn't easy to pursue this full time, but I basically didn't get dance training when I was young. I really wanted to, but we were immigrants and my parents were like, studying is the only thing that you're allowed to do. So I danced in my bathroom alone. In university, I did competitive dancing. I got into the team, but then my grades suffered. So then I joined this international team that included events where people wanted to dance, but they didn't know how to, but they wanted to. So I think I learned a lot there where I learned how to teach people who have the interest but have no experience. And I think it helped. I'm totally trained now and I get training all the time, but it helped that I came from a background that I was a beginner myself, because I feel it's easier for me to teach because I have empathy for people who are nervous, because dance is intimidating. Like Durgi, I pretty sure you're good, but if I taught you right now, you'd be a little scared on how you're gonna look and this and that. No?
A, just so you know, there's no way that would be happening right now. And B, I'm glad you said that because dancing is intimidating, especially like, man, for someone like me, it certainly is. And I was reading through like some of the comments on like your site and things like that to prepare for the interview. And I saw you even mention like, some of your favorite people that you like to teach are the ones that say, the two left feet, like they've got two left feet. And so tell me a little bit about that, what you mean by that.
Yeah, I get that probably every client, usually the groom is like most scared, right? But it's my favorite thing to teach because just in one session their confidence goes like this, because I slowly explain and I have empathy, because dance instructors who are amazing have made me cry because they're so trained that they're like, you need to be like this, whereas I have empathy, like, don't worry, we're gonna go through it slow, one step to the right, one step to the left, and I see their confidence grow. And every groom starts instructing the bride after, like, no, it's like this. So it's fun. I love those because they're easiest, they start off here, so it's easiest to bring them up here.
Amazing. And we will dive into that in shortly, talking about brides and grooms and weddings, of course, because this is what this entire segment is about. But let's take it back just a little bit more. There literally is, I don't know how many, there's thousands, hundreds of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, in the GTA that have not been able to do what you've done, which is like, I've got this passion, right? Whatever it is, there's this thing that I love, but it's too artsy. And I've got this corporate job. And, the corporate job gives me, security and stability, and I get a nice paycheck every 2 weeks, and that's good enough for me. But, I bet you if, you offered a lot of these people, the freedom, the financial freedom, let's say, or the artistic freedom to say, don't really worry about that stuff. Go do what you love. Many of them would do that. And that's something you've actually done. Like you said, you quit your day job and you got on a plane and you went to Mumbai to train, to get professionally trained in dancing. Talk to me about that. That's something that, very few people are able to do.
Yeah, it was very scary. I mean, I took 12 months when I decided to actually do it. It took a year of thinking every day, but it wasn't easy, but I knew it was something I wanted to do. And I just want to tell people I didn't dive into it right away. I wanted to, but I worked in the corporate field for 4 years. I saved up. And also I have to say, I don't think it's easy for me to say, everyone, you should do it, but it's not easy. And my parents supported me a lot. And they didn't want to. They're like, why can't you just be normal and stay in a job like everyone else? But they did. At the end of the day, when I decided, they did. And I think what I'm trying to do is I started to think of this, what I'm doing, as a company. There's so many startups that start technology and they are not crazy profitable for 10 years at time. So just because I'm doing art doesn't mean it's not a company. That doesn't mean it can't grow on a national or international scale. And that's my hope. But I did my education and job, and I know I worked hard at that I can always fall back on that, but I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna try. That's my plan.
I love that. And how long ago did you quit your corporate job?
2019 January, and all of 2019 I was in India, and then I moved back to start, and then the world ended.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing it online.
Yeah, perfect timing, right? That is crazy to me. And I know it's been a little awkward or a little challenging because, like you said, you were gone for a year, you came back, and then this crazy thing happened around the world, and you couldn't even do exactly what you wanted to do. Like, you didn't have, your plan couldn't come to life the way you envisioned. But any regrets from leaving the corporate world?
No, I mean, I definitely miss the paycheck that I got sometimes, especially in like Decembers, because in offices in Decembers, you don't work that much and you just have like potlucks, but the money comes in, right? So I'm definitely always counting every penny, every dollar, trying to build up, which is exciting, but I don't regret it because this was my time. Like, when else would I have done this. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I had to try it and I had to do it. So
100%. And my personal feeling is, the dark clouds are slowly opening up. I say this as it's like storming outside my house right now, but I think the dark clouds are slowly opening up, and knock on wood, this entire worldwide pandemic is hopefully coming to an end, and hopefully we can start doing weddings again. In fact, as I say this, I'm thinking about a couple of weddings I've got lined up over the next few weeks, and what that just tells me is, weddings are coming back, and they are going to need vendors like you. Help me understand. You briefly mentioned like working with brides and grooms. Like, what is it exactly you do when you're working with brides and grooms for a wedding?
Right. So I work with brides and grooms, but I also mainly work with the family, and I teach them classes and set up a whole performance for them. So I teach them the moves, and then I make a video of myself so they can keep practicing it. I make them mix as well, and I get their performance ready for their show, whether it's just a first dance or it's bridesmaids and aunties and stuff coming in and out, but I get their performance ready because people want to see the family perform more than anything. When they're there, they'll eat and they want to see the main people perform. Professional performers will be cool, but watching people that perform is the most memorable thing. So that's what I do.
I agree with that, right? And I think it goes back to like how you tied it into, teaching kids. There's something special about teaching a 4-year-old as far as the parent's concerned, right? Like, you could be the best dancer in the world, and a parent might watch you dance and say, okay, that was great. But as soon as like the 4-year-old takes, 3 steps in sync with the music, it's crazy, right? For the parent. So I totally get that. Let's think about, how things have changed a little bit. I know you said, so you train, the couples in dancing, you might train families in dancing. And just so I'm clear, you're talking about like dances or performances that would take place during the wedding reception, correct?
Yeah, actually I've been doing Mehndi more. I think Mehndi and reception, yeah.
And just in case somebody doesn't know what a Mehndi is, can you describe it like real quick?
So Indian and Pakistani weddings are like a week long. So Mehndi is an event, or like the Sangeet before the wedding, where people sort of get henna done, and I find it's the most fun event because the wedding hasn't happened, so there's anticipation and excitement getting to that day.
Right. And is that on the bride side, the groom side, or both?
Both. These days it's been before it was like individual. These days it's common to do it together because it's just about party Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what it's about.
Got it. And so, my follow-up question now is, now that we understand, you're training the families, the brides and grooms to put on performances, and the way I'm thinking about it is, if we've ever seen like a Bollywood movie, right? There's a wedding scene and like people bust out into dancing. It's kind of like that, right? Like a little bit inspired by that. So you go to a reception or a Mehndi or a Sangeet, and then all of a sudden there's like a dance performance. So that's what you specialize in, like really perfecting that for the people performing. But let's take it a step further. How do you think this has changed pre and post pandemic?
Well, when I came, I did a couple weddings in February 2020, and I had tons lined up and they all got canceled. I'm sure you experienced the same. But I think the one thing that's changed is online. Right? Because now I actually mainly teach online. US has opened way before, so I've done like 7 weddings already, and in UK and the States, and now I have students in my regular class from Australia too. So if you like my dancing style, if you have confidence in the way I teach, I can teach the family wherever you are. So I've been doing a lot of weddings, and this is something I didn't have before. Like before, I remember I did a really big wedding in 2018 where the family flew in from Dubai, India, the States, and 2 days before I gathered them all, stood up on a chair and was like yelling at them, trying to get them to learn. But now I would definitely teach them online, wherever they are, so that when they come in person, I can clean it up. But really, I can just teach, like all the weddings I've done now, except for one, I haven't seen them at all. I've just taught them online, cleaned them up, and they're good. So,
Isn't that kind of crazy that, there has been some positive things come out of the pandemic, or there's been things that maybe would have taken 10 years to get to, like from a technology point of view, or even for people to be open to it. But it's just been accelerated, right? So it's pretty crazy to me that now, like a year ago or 2 years ago, you wouldn't have even considered, or your clients wouldn't have considered like, yeah, we'll learn over, whatever it is, FaceTime or Zoom or something. And now you're saying you could train the entire audience through video, and then 2 days or 3 days before they get there, you could probably do like one final run through, but they've already been trained. Am I understanding this right?
yeah, like now any client in US, UK, anywhere, I can get them ready and teach them entirely, and I'm confident with it. So that's opened up my market so much more.
That's amazing, and I love hearing those kind of positive things that have come out of this pandemic. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Let's pretend, I'm a bride, or a soon-to-be bride, or a soon-to-be groom, and and I'm like getting ready, and I realize like, at my reception, I want to, or I should put on like some kind of performance, and Kansha, this is a bit of a challenging question maybe, but let's say I'm ready to do that. But then I realized like, okay, like it's a dance, right? It might be 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes, I don't know. But I don't know, I feel like I could figure it out on my own. Help me understand why I need a professional.
That's a good question, and I battle with that a lot. I've had so many intro calls with brides, and sometimes I get a response, oh, we're just gonna learn from YouTube for free. Like, how do you battle with free? And for me, I get that, because when my sister got married, or if any of my friends before I had this job got married, I would be the one that would teach and stuff, right? So I think the difference is that, you'll pay a certain amount, and it's not going to break the bank compared to any other vendor at all. But learning from YouTube might take hours, and teaching might take time, but in an hour, I'll get it done. And because I'm a professional coming externally, I think people look at me differently, and the family listens more because they are paying and they want to get it done, whereas a cousin or anyone else can get roped into the politics, and I want to stand in front, or this girl should be in the back. There's so much of that I don't have to deal with, because I just come and I'm like, okay, you here, let's go. And it's done in a certain amount of time. And one more thing that I have to stress is that the performance, definitely do it because you're so dolled up that day. So that'll be the best time to perform. It's the most memorable experience. But in 2 minutes, that performance is done. And when the wedding is over, the practices is what you'll remember the most. When you're learning together, laughing, it's an activity that brings the family together to get excited about the day of the event. So you want a professional that can give that activity experience and make it seamless, so you're not roped into the politics of this person didn't come to practice, they don't want to dance, or there's insecurities. It's just clean and done.
Yeah, that's super helpful, and it's so interesting that you say that, because I never thought about it from that perspective. But I face the exact same thing. I've noticed the exact same thing, like with what I do with emceeing and hosting, and it seems like you do too, where when there's like in a wedding reception, as the host of a wedding or the MC of a wedding, people tend to listen, because I'm like the outside party, and the one with the microphone and a strong voice and very direct, and this is what we're doing while still having a ton of fun. And but like if there's like a random person who's never hosted before and trying to speak, it's the same thing. There's like politics, and why does he get to do it, and that guy's not even a good speaker. And it didn't even occur to me that you're right, that totally happens happens even with dancing. And I know because I'm trying to think back to a couple of weddings, that I was a part of, and I was forced to dance, and there was a bit of that, and so that totally makes sense of how all of that gets pushed aside, and you can focus on like having fun during the practices, and really building the memories, which is what it's all about, right? So that's pretty cool to hear. Let's say I buy what you're saying, right? Like you've convinced me. I've never even heard you before, or maybe I'm not familiar with your work. Yeah, virtual handshake. But Akanksha's convinced me I need a what do you call yourself? Like a
wedding choreographer.
Thank you. What? Sorry, wedding choreographer?
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be like a wedding dance choreographer?
Choreography is dance.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm like, okay, yeah. I guess that makes sense. I gotta hit up the dictionary afterward. Yeah, you're right. So I guess wedding choreographer. So let's say you've convinced me. I need one. What are the things that I should be looking out for on my search, or maybe when I'm interviewing one?
So I think, I always have a call. So I think, what are you looking for in terms of planning the performance or picking one? What's your question?
So not even like there yet. Like I've just been convinced, like I need to hire a wedding choreographer. Mm-hmm. Now what? Like, what should I be careful of? And let's say I find you online, or I end up on your website, or I watch this video and I go to your Instagram, and now I want to reach out to you. Like, what are the types of questions I should be asking any choreographer?
Right. I think the main thing, just even not by asking, by gauging, that I think is important. Like, obviously people want to know about how it's done, what's included, and the pricing. And this is a new concept, so by no way does it break the bank in any way. But the choreographer is exposed to you and the family the most, because the person who makes the cake, maybe the bride will see, but your family doesn't interact with them. So whoever you get, you want to make sure whoever's learning, you get someone that you're proud of, that they don't look back at you like, okay, which weirdo did you get? So I think you want to hire a choreographer whose choreography you tend to like. So you have to like their style of dance. But another thing is, I would say, I think it's important to have someone who has strong communication skills, right? So especially for Indian weddings, like, this, I speak Hindi really well, and I speak that more than English at times. And I think you want someone that can interact with the family and you properly. And I know there's a lot of choreographers that have a different dancing style than me, so I would say if you like that, go with that. But I think having a strong communicator as a choreographer is important, because they're the ones that are going to be giving you that activity, right? Like I said, these practices are actually an activity and the most memorable experience. So you want someone who can take hold of the room and speak to your parents and your fiance and you, and make it a sort of seamless experience where you can comfortably talk to them. And sometimes that's not always there. Sometimes people can dance, but they can't teach that great, or the communication is tough. So I think those are the main things you want to look for in a choreographer: if it gels with your dancing style, and if you can talk to them easily, because dancing involves so much insecurity. You want to be comfortable saying, this move, no. And I get that all the time. Be like, hey, Akanksha, no, I don't want this move. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Is this okay? Is this okay? So you want to have that dialogue, because the worst thing is when a choreographer gives you all these moves and you just don't like them and they don't fit you well. Because I've had one when I was young. I went to a choreographer and she was like this. The song was like beautiful and nice, and she's like, we're gonna do this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. I'm like, right? So how do you want to be able to talk through so the moves can be customized to you?
Got it. Makes sense. I think the biggest takeaway out of that is communication and just being comfortable. So that's super helpful to know. But as a follow-up, I gotta ask, because this entire segment I've called it Wedding Checklist. Now, the idea is that when couples are about to get married or planning a wedding, what are the different tips, tricks, but most importantly, checklists that they should be considering? And so specifically for choreographers, what should I be asking what should I be asking you? So I know you really nailed it when talking about communication, but what are the questions I should be asking you when I come to hire you?
Mm-hmm. How do you teach? Like trying to understand if you want classes half online, half in person, or just one or the other. What songs? We always discuss what kind of songs you want to do in the flow. In terms of in the event, where does this happen? If it's the first dance, are you going to cut the cake and flow onto this stage? So we discuss the itinerary. We discuss practice times, like if the event is here, when should we start practicing? Because you want to practice, have enough time, but not so much that you forget the day before, right?
Right.
So we discuss timelines, and we discuss who is involved. Like usually when I talk, I get more people involved because people start the practices, they enjoy it. But I'm like, hey, sometimes actually right now, I'm teaching the sisters of the bride only. And I asked the bride, I'm like, don't you want the bride to come on for one song? Because people want to see the bride.
Yeah.
And the bride was scared, but now she's doing one song. So we discuss who should be included, and maybe if it's other people for a segment, can we have the parents come in so we can have so they don't have to be stressed about learning a whole thing, but they have a little bit memorable thing where they come in and go. So yeah, these usually things.
You got it. No, that's super helpful. And thanks for sharing that. You've been dancing for so long and you've been involved so much in the wedding industry. I gotta ask, can you share, what's the craziest, most wackiest story you can think of that's happened that you've witnessed at a wedding? Anything come to mind?
I guess one thing I get a lot for the big weddings, I mean, it's not really crazy, but I get a lot, not a lot, but I have gotten this where it's like, Akanksha, that guy needs to go in the back and I want to hide him in the back and I want to be in the front. And then another person will take me aside. So sometimes I get roped into the politics, but like I said, I come in for a bit and I leave. So it's very easy for me. And usually the people they want in the back are the ones that are good. And they get jealous of them. So they're like, let's stick them in the back. I'm like, they're the only ones who learned it. Wow. So, but it's easy for me because I said it and I leave. So I can say, okay, you're going to be in the front side. This is this, and then go. But I definitely get slowly I realize the rivalries. They always happen and it's very entertaining, but sometimes it's hard. I have to be like, oh, okay, all right.
That's so funny that you get roped into that. And thanks for sharing. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna share my screen with you and I'm gonna share a picture, and I call this part, I call it one word because I want you to describe this picture in one word. Here we are.
Why? What is it with me? Hey, girl. That's what it is.
I love it. Where was this, or what was this?
This was actually a COVID backyard wedding, my best friend's, last August, when things were opened up for a small amount of time, and yeah. It
couldn't have been that great of a friend because it happened in August and you didn't post till December. But I get it. It's all good.
No, I have no content. I've been posting that wedding all year because there's been no events.
Fair enough. What about this?
Why? India. These are all the collabs I did. He's a celebrity choreographer, and yeah. Why not, Durgi? Are you making fun of me? Why not?
No, the question was just one word. It wasn't why did you do it? Yeah. The question was just one word. I wasn't judging or anything. This is amazing. I love it. But you said your word was, I think, India is what you said?
Yeah.
Or is that what oh, okay. Or maybe I made that up in my head.
Yeah.
But just help me understand. This is when you moved, you quit your corporate job, you moved to Mumbai to just get some professional Bollywood training, right? Is that right?
Yeah, and then while I was there, I collabed with some of the best artists that were there, and I met everyone I wanted to, including Shah Rukh Khan. I saw him, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Did he get your autograph or anything?
No, but he walked past me like here. That's enough. That's way more than you ever got.
Agreed. I am super jealous. Okay, one last one. How about this?
One word. Oh, a dime.
What's the word?
A dime. Oh, this is English. Style.
Style. Okay, I didn't. Okay, I didn't even know that word, even though I do speak Hindi. I think that's one of the more complicated words. Very cool. And this looks like it's at Harborfront.
Yeah, this is on a boat. We performed on a boat. This is a boat Sangeet. A cruise Sangeet.
So this brings up a good question. Are you do you get okay? So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Do you get hired to perform at weddings, or do you get hired? I mean, I know you get hired to train people to dance for their big day, but do you also get hired to dance at weddings as well?
I don't do like professional, like those performances anymore. I prefer to teach. But what I have had is a request on, when you teach the family, can you perform with them? And with that, I perform in the front side, where if they forget their moves, they can watch me. And usually they know it. I've taught them, but just for the security, they're like, can you be a part of it? So I don't do like a full team performance. Sometimes I perform with the family. Oh,
I didn't realize that. Like, you actually will, like, if the couple asks, you'll actually go to the wedding and perform with them. That's really cool. I didn't know that, so that's good to know. Now, so that's super helpful. And listen, it was really, really good speaking to you. And even like I learned so much about you that I didn't know. For us to keep doing these type of segments and keep giving back to couples, content like this, the only way I can continue this forever is for me to keep talking to other really good, people that specialize in different things when it comes to the wedding industry. Is there maybe, I don't know, 2 people that you can think of that are at the top of their game in the wedding industry that you might be able to introduce me to, that I could bring onto the show?
Are you using me? I'm kidding.
Yes. No, it's just a referral system.
That's such a good question. Yeah, I know some people. I really like Shirley Wu. Like the Wu sisters are really well set up and good for hair and makeup, so definitely chat with them. They're very well known. And what else is there? Henna by Divya. She's here in Toronto and she's so popular. Like, she's got the best designs ever. But for videography, ABCI Studios, I don't know if you know them, but Zach is really sweet. And I work with a lot of videographers, and sometimes they're so talented, but their personalities aren't great and they don't give you the videos. So Zach is really chill and good. So yeah.
That's amazing. I'll reach out to you in a few weeks and hopefully you can put me in touch with those people and we can set that up. That's amazing. Okay, Akansha, thank you so much for sharing your story. If people have watched this for the first time, have met you for the first time, and have fallen in love with you and your style, where can they find you?
My website, I get a lot of inquiries through there, akanach.com with 2 A's, NAACH. Instagram, of course, and email aka.nach@gmail.com.
Amazing. Akansha, thank you so much for being part of this segment, Wedding Checklist Now, and we will talk to you soon. And I hope we get to work together again soon in the real world. So looking forward to that.
That's it, Jordan. You're not gonna dance? I thought I was gonna teach you dance.
Not today. Not on a Saturday morning at 9:30 or 10 a.m. or whatever it is. But this has been incredible. I'll have to take a rain check. I hope that's okay.
Fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.